Hey guys, this is KSP with Tape, and today you join me for episode 5 of KSP Space Race, and today we start with a moon mission. We are sending something to the moon. There is no Kerbal inside it right now because we need to fill it with a Kerbal who we're being paid to save. We also need to complete a bunch of those temperature report missions and crew report missions that you get for flying in certain places near the moon, which I've had for a while and have half completed some and not completed others, and that way we will make a lot of money, because we need the new science center so that we can make proper SSTOs to finally get back in the race with Penguin. So yes, here we are, just launching on a reasonably sized rocket, which is actually quite nice. It was incredibly stable. I had no problem with flip outs or anything. So yeah, the third stage on this even is actually a nuclear engine, I said it right this time, nuclear powered stage. It has a smallish nuclear engine, and yeah, it'll provide us basically all of the Delta V in the world, and then it has a very tiny fourth stage, just in case I do run out of fuel and need to get back. So yeah, this is basically, I was like, okay, I need to do all of these missions, and I really need to not fail them, so I'm just going to put all of the Delta V in the world on this spacecraft, and then just do it like that. And you can see I'm getting all the way to the moon with the second stage, and then I have a nuclear-powered stage, so yeah, this also hit basically the height limit of the VAB, which may be the reason why I forgot to put a parachute on it, which will become problematic later. But okay, the first thing we need to do is fetch these temperature reports, and then we're going to go save that Kerbal, and then use that Kerbal to do various crew reports, and it'll all be great. So, I'm pretty sure there's just one temperature scan left for this one mission, so we'll complete that straight away with a few inclination changes, still using the second stage, because you know, it's a ball-in rocket and pretty light payload and a hugely efficient payload. So yeah, we need to make a lot of money, and then get a lot of science, and then get a lot of SSTO, and then get a lot of warp drives, and then we'll win. Because an effective SSTO... first report, we complete that mission. It was a little fast, you probably didn't see it. But yeah, we got paid handsomely for that. But yeah, so that'll be all good. But yes, SSTOs are very important, as we get we get some plane launches per turn. So having an SSTO is super useful, and I did have one last term, but it was an old school one, so it couldn't really do much, although I did send it to orbit the sun, because I'm a baller. But yeah, so we do want more effective SSTOs that could maybe land places, so that we can get more and more science, and win this race to warp drive. Win our interstellar quest, you may say. Yeah, anyway, so we're just going to fly through this report, and you can see these yellow reports are all scattered around, so we're going to have to do lots of inclination changes to get them. But because they're scattered around, they pay incredibly well, which is rather nice. And yeah, so here's the first one. Enter the zone of danger, the danger zone, and take the report. And then, because we're in such a low orbit, it takes so long to go anywhere, I will save you watching me very slowly orbit. And here we are, just a little bit further around the orbit, preparing to hit the next reports using our nuclear engine. Although this engine is slightly annoying because it spools up. And I think it does cut out instantly, which is good, but it does spool up, which is a little annoying because it means I have to wait a little longer, and you can see it's slowly getting more effective. I think it's part of one of the things, maybe Interstellar, maybe KW, maybe one of the gajillion mods we're using. I don't know. I don't pay attention to these things. So yeah, anyway, take another temperature report and get some more money. I think I get 26 grand each report, and then I think 200 grand or something at the end. Anyway, here I am just taking this next report after a little bit of inclination changing, which I'll cut out. I cut out because, you know, it's fairly boring. And, you know, yeah, another 26 grand, another 4 science, another bit of reputation, and we're all good. But yeah, there will be a lot of probe-controlled manned spacecraft in this, because my only pilot is on the Calute station, mine and Penguin's International Space Station. And I don't want to bring them back right now, because if I bring them back, I remove 3 crew capacity from the station, and at some point I'm going to make that station slightly bigger, so I'd like to leave the crew capacity up there. So it will be mostly scientists in probe-controlled spacecraft this episode, which is fine, because that works absolutely fine, and it means I have to take less life support, because I don't need a stupid pilot who always eats and breathes. Probes don't breathe. That's my favorite thing about them. Anyway, another quick cut ahead, and here we are, just lining up to take this second-to-last temperature report, and then we're going to have to, I don't know, I think I'll probably just wait until that next report gets into my trajectory rather than expending more fuel. Because we have a hell of a lot of fuel, but I don't want to risk it because I would love to bring that Kerbal back because that's quite lucrative. Because bringing Kerbals back from the moon, they pay quite well. I'm sure that's one of Penguin's Kerbals who we've failed to bring back from the spacecraft where that person died, I guess. Anyway, yeah. So yeah. Just take that report, and while we're waiting for the next report to move into our line of orbit, we're going to send out a plane. Yes, this is the Phoenix 5. It's basically just the Phoenix 4, but with a probe control and Bob in the cockpit, because I don't have a pilot, as you well know. So yeah, we're just going to get on our trajectory and head up there and complete this mission, because we've had this mission for ages, where you're supposed to take reports from high up above, in the atmosphere, and I've only been able to do them one at a time because I've had to use rocket planes. But now we have turbojets, not ramjets yet, but we will get them. And yeah, so firing up the afterburners occasionally. Now my first thought was that for this term was maybe just send a really high energy trajectory probe to Duna, because Penguin has a probe on the way to Duna. And I was thinking, high energy trajectory, get there first, because I got to the moon first. I got to Minmus first, because chronology of episodes. And yeah, but I decided against it, because I thought maybe science and winning was more important than just getting places first. But anyway, yes, we finally completed that mission that we've had for ages, and now we need to head on back. So we're going to do a mad kind of loop, and then we're going to fly back at super high velocities in the high atmosphere, because why not? And yeah, this is a pretty useful plane. Yeah, that mission's been around for a while. This turn is a lot of completing missions I've had for a while, because getting high in the atmosphere without turbojets or ramjets is pretty difficult, and I've always with the reports around the moon, I've always like done one at a time, because usually I'd run out of fuel. But I thought I'd clean them up this time. I'm mostly just finishing off missions rather than doing lots of missions, so it's not quite as spammy as it looks, but you know. But anyway, yeah, here we are, just heading on back, going as fast as we can after that sick loop, which was awesome. And then yeah, just gonna go hopefully land. I'm not sure how well this lands, because last time I flew this, it exploded in the atmosphere. So it's efficient. It doesn't even need to land. It just explodes when you're done with it. It's like, oh, you don't need many more? Boom, I'm gone. Super efficient planes. Anyway, after, I think I must have had a crash, because that was a pretty serious jump cut. Here we are, just heading into the runway, trying not to fall about, because it's not the easiest to maneuver plane, because it's quite big and has small wings, because it's an SSTO. So I didn't want to put big wings on it, because, you know, you don't want to carry too much stuff in space, so the smaller the wings can be, the more efficient it will be in space, because it will have less mass. But anyway, yeah, here we are heading for the runway, nice and swiftly. It's always best to come in at a mad angle, so it's almost impossible to land. That's what you want, I think. And yeah, touchdown nice and hard and bounce a bit, but it lands pretty well. I have to say, that was a pretty good... It reminds me of a space shuttle landing, because it was just falling, basically. I mean, the space shuttle didn't really glide, it just sort of fell forwards a bit, because it had some wings. Anyway, we also get, after cancelling a few missions, a mission to build an outpost on Duna. I'm probably not going to do this, but the advance was almost 500,000 funds. So I thought I'll take that on anyway, because the advance pays better than most of my missions. But anyway, here we are back around the moon. You can see that the final report has moved into my orbital path, and that is all good. Which, yeah, and then we're going to go rescue that crew member who's actually going the opposite way to us, which is a bit of a problem if I didn't have a nuclear engine. So yeah, so I'm just going to get myself onto the right trajectory to finally finish off this mission. I think that's 2 of these temperature report missions done now, because I had that 1 from a remaining mission last time, and this was a brand new mission, so yeah, that's 2, and then we're going to go rescue a Kerbal, and save, and get some more reports that I've kind of semi-completed in the past. So yeah, oh shit, oh, it was just a plate moving. I was like, oh god, everything's falling over in my room, but it's not. So yeah, we completed that mission as well. Woo! Good job for us. We're doing so many things today. But anyway, we need to push our apoapsis up a bit so we can do an inclination change of about, like, it's got to be like, what, 140 degree inclination change. And we want to be far away from the moon when we do that, because it's more efficient. So yeah. So here we are, just doing a small inclination change of 140 degrees, but it's fine. We have a nuclear engine and a 4th stage just in case. So yeah, just turning ourselves around, then we go and rescue that Kerbal. I probably should have thought of this when I came to the moon, but it doesn't matter. Look how easy that was. Look how much fuel I have. Just so much. I am just so good at things. I'm actually not. I just brought a nuclear engine, which is like cheating. But it's fine. Well, it's not cheating, but it feels a bit cheaty because it's so efficient. And yeah, just need to slow down so that I get my rendezvous relatively close. And you can see, yeah, a few kilometers. We can fix that a little bit later. And we're going to go fetch a Kerbal. Hopefully a pilot, but I can tell you that it's not a pilot because this is, of course, post-commentary. I don't speak this well while edited. So yeah, it's actually a scientist, which, it's fine. Probes fly my things. I don't risk pilots' lives. So yeah, here we are just moving in, making sure that we get close to it and maybe even hit the spacecraft, but hopefully not. And yeah, just slowing ourselves down and into a 1x time accelerator. I really like the particle effect out of this nuclear engine, actually. It looks really, really cool. Yeah, so there we go. Rotrice's derelict. Yeah, that's her name. So yeah, let's just get her out of there, get her into the spacecraft, and then make her work for us before she even gets back to Kerbin. And we get a bunch of world firsts for rendezvousing in orbit, for EVAing in orbit, which I think I've already done, but maybe I haven't. And then yeah, get a few EVA reports, although I fear those might be lost, given that there isn't a parachute on this spacecraft. Yeah, who needs a parachute when you're awesome? So yeah, let's just move ourselves into the right trajectory for passing through these crew reports. I think I've taken one of these, but again, kind of gave up because I ran out of fuel last time. But yeah, this is definitely a episode of cleaning up missions, getting some money, and rising from the ashes to be the glorious leader of the space race. And yeah, let's take our crew report. As we all know, the Americans, they were doing pretty bad at first. They didn't get to orbit first. They didn't do a bunch of stuff first. They didn't put a man in space first. But then they landed on the moon. And I landed on the moon first. So yeah, and I landed on Mimbus first. And yeah. So anyway, yeah, a little bit around the orbit again. I've actually positioned my orbit to fly through both of these so that I can get them all at once, which is nice because it's better than having to get them do 2 more orbits, because that would be tedious. And yeah, we're entering the final zone of danger. Finally completing, I think, our 3rd, well, technically 4th if you include the rescue mission, and get a bunch of money, and we now have 2 million funds, which is good. And apparently I lost some footage where I left the moon, but you know what that looks like. You burn forwards at the right place and you leave the moon. So yeah, I'm just going to try and slow down a bit here, because it would be really nice if I was going slowly into the atmosphere, since I don't have a parachute. But, you know, I mean, last episode I didn't have enough life support or fuel, but I picked, you know, how to win. You know that I can do crazy stuff. Yeah, so I'm sure I can land without a parachute or an engine with sufficient thrust. I mean, how could that go wrong? So yeah, just balancing re-entry, trying not to explode my spacecraft, because I'm thinking I'm going to use the spacecraft to slow me down when I hit the ground. It's just going to kind of be my cushion, but made of metal and engines and basically just money. Yeah, apparently, actually, if you fueled the Falcon 9 with $1 bills, it would be cheaper than the space shuttle. So, I mean, talking of fueling things with money. But anyway, the game's being weirdly crashy when I'm about to hit the ground recently. So, jump cut to me a little closer where I did my last quick save. I quick save a lot because it crashes. And I'm pretty sure my OpenGL solution isn't actually working. But anyway, yeah, so we're falling towards the ground. I'm trying to pull up and fly this thing, because you can fly anything if it's long enough and has enough surface area. But it's not working for me. I don't have enough thrust. I lost my RCS thrusters. So yeah, what I should have been doing was firing my engine, but apparently I didn't think of that. But I think I do at some point, maybe, or not. So my plan is jump out at the last second like a total freaking badass. So yeah, we'll just try and slow down as much as possible with the nuclear engine, which is in the atmosphere. So yeah, quickly jump out, the spacecraft hits the ground, I hit the ground, I'm fine. The Kerbal is just a ninja, clearly. It doesn't even need freaking parachutes, just hits the ground. Freaking nailed it. And yeah, so we won that mission. That went fine. So yeah, anyway, after that, we put her back in the spacecraft. Like, you want to go to space again? She's like, no. Last time I got stuck in space, rescued by a madman, and I had to jump out just before I hit the ground. I don't want to go back to space. And we were like, great, you're going to Minmus. It was like, oh my god. And yeah, it's also a probe-controlled mission, so you won't have any control. And it's like, oh, great, this is just great. So yeah, we put Bob and Rotrice in the spacecraft, and it's a probe-controlled spacecraft, because again, I don't have any pilots So yeah, we're just going to head up here. It's the same spacecraft as I think I used last episode to go to Minmus, and we're going to go do a couple biomes, get a bunch of science, and just, yeah, unlock some stuff, because I haven't actually technically upgraded the science center yet. I have the money, but I want to get some more science. And then we're going to get the proper tools for an SSTO, and then do some cool SSTO stuff, which will be awesome. But I only get one, because as you know, I used one of my planes earlier in the episode, and we only get 2 level 2 planes, which is the kind of level 2 building that you need to build the plane. We only get 2 of those, if you know what I mean. So yeah, here we are. The maneuver's all set in. We're in a bit of a bad situation because we're in a bad inclination because we don't have an equatorial launch site. I mean, it's better than the KSC 2, but it's still not equatorial. I think Penguin planned that. I mean, yeah, I got Jeb, but that means nothing. And he got a better place to launch from. I think that's why he's winning. I actually think it's just because I'm not much of a speed through a tech tree sort of person. But we're doing that today. We got a bunch of money in our first mission, and technically our second plane mission. And now we're going to get a bunch of money, well, a bunch of science. I mean, a little money, but mostly science, so that we can unlock some awesome stuff, like Saber engines and ramjets and cool shit. I don't know. It's going to be awesome. Anyway, so we need to get closer to Minmus. And I'm doing it at a suboptimal position because I don't want to do it at my inclination, at my ascending node, because that's right next to Kerbin. So I'm going to do it a little further away. My inclination change, that is, so that it's more efficient. So yeah, it was a little harder to plan, but it's cool. So yeah, we're just going to head on down to Minmus. Well, head on up to Minmus. Well, I mean, it's space, so just head to Minmus. There's no up or down. Although I guess technically, because we're at Kerbin, Minmus would be up. But then it depends what side of Kerbin you're standing on, because sometimes it's down relative to you. So where even is it? So yeah, relative positions, I guess. I don't really know what I'm talking about, but here we are in Minmus. It's great. We're trying to pick out a place to land, but it's rotating, so I guess I'll just pick when I'm in orbit. And try and put myself a little more equatorial, because there's usually better places to land near the equator, like the flats. I like landing on flats. Flats are nice. They're flat. Good place to land. And they, I don't know, they just look nice. And have, they're like valleys. But I think I'm actually going to land in that tiny little bit of flat, because that's still going to be in the daylight, and relatively close to me. And it's fun to land in precision places, so, yeah. Let's grab a few EVA reports from above, I don't know where. And yeah, just make a quick retrograde burn so that I come down closer to the surface, and an inclination change so that I land near the flats. Well, on the flats, hopefully. I'm going to go for that really tiny little bit of flat that's barely visible just below my orbit there, which will be great, because I assume that's the lesser flats, although I think it's actually just the flats, because it's just some flats. Yeah, it's kind of hard to keep track of which flats you've landed on, which is kind of annoying when you're trying to pick out places to land, but yeah, this looks pretty cool. It's like a small little flat, nice little, could make a nice little base, really. It's got mountains around it, it's nice and small, you can get off the flats quite easily. So yeah, I quite like this place. Minmus, I do really like Minmus. It is quite beautiful, you know. So yeah, just take a few EVA reports and then head on down to the surface. I'm just going to leave this whole mission at 4 times time accelerate, because I want you to see all of it, but you've seen the same sort of things before, so yeah. And here we are, just touching down nice and gently, as I like to do. And yeah, a bunch of atmospheric pressure scans and all of the reports we can shake a stick at. We don't have a head on this Kerbal, which is weird. I was a little bit jarred by that, but I guess Bob got so excited he literally lost his head. So, yeah, that's interesting. So yeah, oh, now he's just not wearing a helmet. Maybe that's why he doesn't have a head. I think there's something going on with Bob. Firstly, he doesn't come out with his head. Then he doesn't come out with his helmet on. I'm not sure. What's going on? But anyway, yeah, there's all the science. We'll just grab a couple more EVA reports and a surface sample, plant our flag, tape flats landing, ninja, and then I was totally first on Minmus, because I landed in my first launch of the same turn, where Penguin landed at his second launch, ergo I was first in Minmus. All of you people, you just don't even like logic. And talking of no logic, fucking hell. Jesus Christ. Yeah, Bob came out without his helmet on, and apparently without his eye. Didn't feel like he needed an eye, or a pupil, or a helmet. I I don't know what's going on with Bob recently. I think he's gone space crazy. But anyway, yeah, so that is a new biome over there. It's pretty close, so I thought I'd bring the spacecraft over. I wouldn't put Bob back in the spacecraft right now until we know what's going on with his eyes. But yeah, we're just going to try and land, and I screw this up royally multiple times, but that's what makes KSP fun, the things that fall over, and when you have to, you know, get stuck on Duna and have to grow potatoes, and have to steal some NASA spacecraft. Well, it's not really stealing. Well, yeah, well, he was a space pirate in the book. I've mentioned that so many times. Anyway, so yeah, now I fall over after landing gently, take off again, kind of get all in a weird position, kind of try and stay away from Bob, because I don't trust people who don't wear space helmets in space. I mean, you know. Oh, I'll just use the airlock, Hal. Well, how will you do that without your space helmet, Dave? What are you doing, Dave? That's not Hal's voice, but I think it would be funnier if it was. Just kind of... Anyway, let's just take all the science, stop talking about Hal, because Hal's crazy, and 2001 is a very confusing film, which... I don't know, it was kind of frustrating to watch. It's like they didn't hire an editor. Like all those scenes where they're doing EVAs and they just don't cut anything out. It's like, I get that this is an art piece, but come on, guys. Anyway, so Bob has apparently decided to put his helmet back on. I don't know where the fuck he was keeping it. I mean, what are you doing, Bob? You're making me look like a putz in front of all the people. But yeah, he's once again put his helmet on, which is good. I don't know if he's put his eye back in, but whatever. So we're just going to grab all the science, and just try and forget the monster we saw out there. And yeah, just get back in. It's easier to get the science out in orbit because there's no... You're weightless relative to your spacecraft, so that's good. And then get ourselves into orbit and just leave. Go home, figure out what's wrong with Bob. Just... I don't know, try not to think about it too much. I mean... Where was his eye? Anyway, let's just go home. Let's just... get going home, and this time we have parachutes, which I think is a really good advancement for our space program. I mean, we've started putting parachutes on our spacecraft, we've started carrying the right amount of fuel and life support, we've started putting the solar panels on the pod so that if we do have to decouple, we still have solar panels, which is good. So yeah, and there we are, just heading back, and now we will have enough science, enough money, enough awesome... Probably not enough eyes on Bob, but we'll forget about that, to build an SSTO that can go beyond... Well, actually, my last SSTO to go to solar orbit, but it can land places. We're going to send it to Minmus again, because we have more things to do around Minmus. And they don't involve people, because Kerbals are starting to freak me out with their not having eyes, they're burning up in the atmosphere, they're being able to jump out of a spacecraft just before it hits the ground, and yeah... they're being very weird today, so we're just going to pull our chutes, land on the ocean, leave the Kerbals on the ground, and build ourselves a drone to go and bomb off nowhere. That we're going to go to Minmus. Yeah, so there we are, just landing on the ocean rather gently. A pretty good mission. I think we got a lot of science. We had an inadequate amount of space helmets, but that's fine. We had an inadequate amount of eyes, but that's also fine, because we got... 12, almost 1,300 science, and like a bunch of money. So, let's get a new science then, shall we? We also got money for planting the flag on Minmus and getting some science from the space around Minmus. So yeah, new space, new R&D facility. That's great. And yeah, hypersonic flight I think would be good. And at this point I don't actually buy Rapier engines, because I'm wondering if I could do it without Rapier engines, because ramjets are lighter. But it turns out I can't, so eventually I give in, unlock Rapier engines / Saber engines, and build the Phoenix 6, which you will see now. Yeah, the Phoenix 6, a pretty ballin' spacecraft, an SSTO, a drone, a spacecraft, an aircraft, a watercraft, maybe, who knows, we haven't tested that. But yeah, it's pretty great, except it's kind of unstable on its wheels, so you can't take off on full throttle. If you get above 70 meters per second, I've learned this from testing, because I do a little testing on these before I actually fly them, because, you know, planes are sort of difficult. So anyway, yeah, if you get above 70 meters per second on the runway, it'll flip out and explode. So I'm just going to get up to about 60 meters per second, use the ramp, then throttle up. This is quality design. Yeah, it's not that great, but it does work. so who cares? Unless there's not a ramp on my runway, then I'm fucked. But whatever. So throttle up, pull the gear in, and try and not hit the ground. And yeah. So just get myself onto the right trajectory as well, because I want to be pointing 90 degrees, due east, I guess, or west. Due one of them. North, east. So, wait, no, I don't know which way around it is. I'm pretty sure it's east. So, yeah, it's east. So yeah, let's let's head on up. We've got that one big intake on the top. I just kind of like how that looks. And we're using, yeah, rapier engines. Sabre engines are the ones, of course, used, well, that will hopefully one day be used on the Skylon spacecraft, which British people are developing, but our government hates space, because, I don't know, they're too concerned with just not reforming the voting system. So anyway, yeah, apparently this is also debris, which sucks, so, probe, nailed it. I'm not really adding connective words today. I'm just saying nouns and adjectives. So yeah, anyway, let's go into 4x accelerate so that we can see, so that we can just see it get to orbit a little faster. And it's lacking in thrust a bit because it weighs like 25 tons and it only has 2 of these little engines. So I'm going fairly flat in the atmosphere just to pick up speed so that the engines will gain thrust. And at some point maybe I'll fire up the nuclear engine just to power it a little more. And I do, I think, briefly switch over to the liquid fuel oxidizer mode just to get a little more speed, but that's pretty inefficient. So I decide at some point to fire up the nuclear engine. Apparently not right now, so I'm just gonna keep talking about it. And oh yeah, there we go. And that increases my velocity, which increases the thrust of the Rapier engines, which means I can shut off the nuclear engine and still have the right amount of thrust. Sometimes you just need an extra kick through the sound barrier, and that's what we got. So we're just going to get up as fast as freaking possible. We're going to fire up the nuclear engine, we're going to flip out almost, and then switch modes on the Rapier engines and propel ourselves to orbit. And then to Minmus to do awesome things. And there's a little cargo bay in there. It has a bunch of scientific equipment. The mission we're doing today is a very well-paying mission to do some reports around Minmus, some temperature reports. Most of them are actually from high altitude, so it's going to be pretty easy, but one of them's quite low down. But we're going to land anyway, because then we get a little more science, and also landing SSTOs is cool. Because, yeah, although I don't think I'm going to be landing it on the flats, so I'm probably not going to be able to do that awesome thing where you kind of back up and land like a plane just going backwards. But anyway, yeah, I'm just going to propel myself the rest of the way into orbit with just the nuclear engine, because it's more efficient. Although I think I did a little bit overburn with the Rapier engines, and I burnt probably a little bit too much fuel while they were in liquid fuel oxidizer mode, so I am a little low on fuel right now. But it's a nuclear engine, so it should be fine. Probably. So yeah, hopefully we will have enough fuel to do all of the things, but I was a little worried at this point, but, you know, hopefully it'll be fine. I'm just going to take a little sip of water. My mouth is unreasonably dry. I say that in a lot of videos now. I really do think it is London water. I think the water here is too hard, although when I go back to where I live, undisclosed location, let's just call it Myanmar. No, it's just some place in Britain, undisclosed, in an underground bunker, planning how to kill penguin. Which would be better served in London, I guess. But anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. But anyway, yeah, when you go back there and it's like soft water, you're like, oh, this is so hard to drink. But it doesn't make my throat feel like I've drunk glass. But anyway, yeah. Enough of talking about how terrible London water is. And on to propelling ourselves to Minmus with the nuclear engine. And obviously, well, not obviously, actually, we do it with quite a lot of fuel left over. We have like over 300 units of fuel left over, which is good. So we should have enough fuel to do everything we need to do, probably. But obviously, as the spacecraft gets lighter, you get more delta V per unit fuel because you're lighter. And pretty much, like, I think it's a 25-ton spacecraft fully loaded, and about 15 tons of that is fuel. So, yeah, we're a lot lighter now. But yeah. And unlike Penguin's SSTOs that are drones, I don't have to put a crew cabin on the front because I don't think he's unlocked the nose cones. So he always has crew cabins on the front, which is probably useful if he ever needs to use them in emergency. But still, I've just used a nose cone that was full of fuel. And yeah, I initially tried to design this without Rapier engines. I thought maybe I could just use the nuclear engine to push me into orbit, but it just doesn't have enough thrust, which kind of sucks. But yeah, it's fine. So yeah, here we are at Minmus. We're going to pull ourselves into orbit, and then into a polar orbit. That'll make it easier to take all of these reports, because they're really spread out, which once again means they pay really well, but means they're quite hard to get. And luckily, most of them aren't like really low down, because usually when you get these, it's like, do it below 7 kilometers, and you're like, great, that's going to be really inconvenient. But most of them, all except one, I think, of these temperature reports request that I do it like above 7 kilometers, so my inclination changes won't be super costly. And yeah, we still got quite a bit of fuel. We still have almost 10% of our fuel, which is quite a lot because it's a nuclear engine and it's very light now. And my computer screens decided that now would be a good time to turn off while I'm trying to post commentary or video. That's weird. But anyway, yeah, so I don't know what just happened there, but I guess I'm doing the inclination change so that I can pass over this temperature report and grab it for the first bit of money. I won't be bringing this back to Kerbin, and it was like a 50 grand vehicle. What's happening here? Oh yeah, this is just a cut to where I'm doing the next report. So that was a bit jarring. Sorry, that was me and my terrible editing. And here we are, just coming into the final one that we can get from high up above, and we're taking the temperatures. I just, I skipped through a lot of the orbital maneuvering because it's fairly dull. But yeah, we just need to now maneuver into that position. But anyway, what was I saying? Something about... Oh yeah, it's like a 50 grand spacecraft, but luckily for me, I do get 20% of that back from the runway I use, because some of the runways give you money back for some reason, but I'm not bringing it back, so it will be quite expensive. But luckily, these missions pay very well. I think already it's paid for itself with just like the single payments you get for each report, and then also I'll get another one for this report, and then I'll get about 150 grand when all's said and done. So, yeah, I'm just going to change my inclination so that I can fly down there, and we're going to land, not on the flats, which will be difficult. But it's fine, I'll just land it like a rocket and then flip it at the last minute, because it's kind of fun to come in backwards like a plane, usually, like on the flats when you land on Mimus with one of these, but that won't be possible here, because it's in quite bumpy terrain. So, yeah. But, yeah, we'll just get this, and it'll all be great. These SSTOs... Yeah, the SSTO is quite a barrier to being able to do things, really, because if you don't have SSTOs in this series, you're going to miss out like 2 launches a turn. But yeah, and hopefully I will, be able to do cool things with it. As you know, if you've seen many of my videos, I did once send a giant cargo SSTO to Duna, and landed, so I kind of feel like I might have the upper hand here. But this episode, we really clawed it back. We put ourselves right back on the technology race. We've got money again, we got science again, we got effective spacecraft again, maybe even more effective than Penguins, although right now they're looking relatively similar in performance. But anyway, yeah, just as we hit the ground, I'm going a little fast, so I fire up the rapier engines very briefly, and it slows us down nicely. And we touch down on the engine and flip forward onto our wheels. What a glorious landing, if you didn't see because it was going too fast. We did take the temperature report just before while we were falling, just to make sure we got it. But yeah, here we are, but apparently we've already been here because Science Report isn't going crazy at us, and as we try to take a seismic scan, it tells us, oh, you've already been to the Midlands. And yeah, so we're going to go down this hill a bit, hopefully get to the lowlands, but on the way down the hill, it turns out we're on the slopes. So yeah, we're just going to get all of this and transfer it back. It's a little less lucrative than actually bringing the data back, but... it's cool. There's a lot of biomes on Minmus. We haven't even been to the poles yet. I don't think we've even been to the highlands yet. And the same with the moon. There's a lot more places to go. I wonder if you get to the... I think you can get to the end of the tech tree without ever going into planetary, so I might bear that in mind. While Penguin wastes his money on his boondoggles, I'll just be flying around the biomes on the moon. But I'm not sure if they've changed that. Anyway, yeah, so just a little bit more driving down this hill to see if I can get to the lowlands. And yeah, I'm just, cutting through it occasionally, showing you as it slowly gets steeper and I slowly get more worried. But apparently I've been to the lowlands, but still get a seismic report. So all is good with the world. Much money, much science, much plane. That is what we've done this episode. And yeah, we're just going to slow down to a stop. And that is the end. That was a pretty long episode. It's pretty hard to talk for 34 minutes, non-stop. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you're looking forward to the future episodes where we'll be getting more money and more science and more planes, and we will be slaughtering Penguin in the race to the warp drive. I will see you next time.